Hi, I'm Betsy Barbieux, and this is CAM Matters. Come join us today as we review the year 2022 and take a look at some of the highlights from our shows. Come join us.
Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Well, thanks for joining us today. And oh my gosh, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I can't believe we're saying that. It just came so fast. Wasn't it just like Easter? I'm pretty sure.
New Year's.
New Year's, yeah, even more.
I don't know where the year has gone.
Well, this is probably one of my favorite shows that we do each year, is that we look back on the previous shows that we did and just kind of recap some of the highlights. And, the things that stand out to me normally have a little bit of humor to it. Like, what did that? We said that happened? Yeah. But I like to do these, Betsy, because then as our friends in the community are watching, they can say, hey, I have that issue with one of my properties, or that's something I need to know more about. You can look back at this previous year of 2022. So how was your 2022?
Well, it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been different.
Yeah.
Managing and training and answering hundreds of questions and emails from everybody. It's fun. It's been fun. Different this year, but fun.
What do you see coming up for 2023? Do you see any trends or anything that kind of you could give us a heads up on?
The conversations that I hear center around insurance.
Oh.
The increases in insurance, the new requirements for the building inspections, the requirements for the reserves, and all of those. I know that there are a lot of classes, a lot of attorneys and other people, experts in the field, are having classes of how to do everything, how to do this, how to do that. I don't think anything's written in stone yet. They've got another year to refine the statute. It seems to be, from what I hear, the consensus is it can't stay the way it is. It's impossible to do.
Okay. So is this coming from the condo collapse? Is this the core, the heart of it?
Well, it seems to have the final straw that broke the camel's back was the collapse of the condominium down in South Florida. But we've had successive hurricanes.
Okay.
And it's the insurance companies who are doing this.
Okay.
And they're trying to limit their liability. And seems that, we pay a lot for insurance premiums, but they don't want to pay.
Okay.
And
they're kind of getting nasty in a way about it, right? They're using some loopholes that seem unfair.
Yeah. And things like, well, they've determined that roofs are their biggest liability. So now they're requiring, if you want to renew your insurance, if your roof is more than 10 or 15 years old, you have to replace it. And we've been planning to replace roofs in 20 or 25 or 30 years. So we don't have the money.
Right.
A lot of communities don't have the money. And so their alternative is, fine, we will insure the roof for actual value. Okay. Which means they'll depreciate it all the way down and it's still uninsured.
Right. Wow. Okay.
But the insurance carriers, I think we've had another one leave the state. So our pool is getting smaller and smaller, and we only had 5 or 6 anyway. Okay. So we don't have a lot of carriers.
And then when there's less competition,
then the price
that's bad, right?
Yeah. But the law can't stay the way it is. It can't stay, and there are too many things that aren't clear. I had somebody ask me the other day, well, are commercial condominiums subject to the same new law? I don't know.
They haven't decided yet.
I don't know. There is a lot of language in the new law that says residential condominium, but it doesn't specifically say not commercial.
Wow.
So I don't know.
So that would be an interesting show for next year.
What's the old saying? It ain't over till the fat lady sings, or something like that. I'm not getting hyped up about the law yet.
Yeah.
because I don't think it's settled at all, and I'm not going to sit there and memorize stuff that's going to change.
Absolutely.
It has to change.
Absolutely.
I just don't think it can stay the way it is.
Sure.
There aren't enough engineers, there aren't enough architects to do the inspections that they're requiring. And they put some burdens on the cities, the municipalities, for notices and things. And it's like, did you check with them? Do they have the staff to do that?
Right.
Do they have the record keeping to be able to do that?
You're asking hard but kind of obvious questions.
You know, I mean, that's just a shallow reading of the new statute.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm just not excited about it yet.
Okay.
I'm not going to do a whole lot of teaching on it, or
Wait till it comes out.
Probably by the summit preview summit. 2023 in August, we'll know some things then.
Sure.
So I'll be able to say what some of the changes have been through this next legislative
That sounds good.
time.
Betsy, let's start to look back at some of the shows in 2022. And since you talked about roofs, we did a show on one-stop shopping for roofs. And I want to talk more about that because associations, everybody has a friend or a brother-in-law that does roofing, and I want you to kind of expound a little bit more on what that show was about.
Joe, who came to join us for that segment, is from Roof Bids, as I recall. And he has gathered information from roofers in the area so that if you need a roof, you contact him and he gets the specs and the bids for you, so that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Because if you don't have a spec sheet with all the things that your roof is going to need and pricing for all of that, then you're going to end up with not knowing what you're comparing.
Yes.
So Joe did a very good explanation of how that works, and his service is free.
That's the thing that blew my
I'm
mind.
still trying to figure out how he gets paid.
This is like a mind-blowing no-brainer.
But that seems to be.
Yeah.
Seems to be.
I mean, you
So-
don't want to get a quote and then you go, oh, wait, that one, the nails weren't included.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
okay, wait a minute. You just kind of assumed. But it's we really want to stress with the show, it's comparing apples to apples. And his service is free.
His service is free.
Yeah.
So if you need a roof, you need to contact Joe and let him walk you through the process that he has, that he can offer. Because it sounded like a really good deal.
Yeah, go back and watch that episode. It was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then another show we did was about aggressive dogs. When they're in we started out the new year with this, I believe, because it was a personal.
One of those questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was, even if your community doesn't allow a certain type of breed, dogs can still get off leashes and be aggressive, and how do you handle that?
The boards need to notify owners and put them on notice about their dog. You know, if the community allows dogs, then they're supposed to be leashed. Your community might have a registration that's required of your pet and updated shots and things like that. But aggressive dogs could subject the association to some liability. And my understanding is the best way to cover themselves, the board should acknowledge that there's an aggressive dog and notify the owner to control their dog or remove the dog.
Because the question came in because the dog had gotten off the leash and, caused some damage to another dog that was on a leash.
Yes, and since then I've had another where the dog was not on the leash and knocked down an owner who was a neighbor who was out walking.
Sure.
And she had 2 trips to the emergency room with that injury.
Pays? How does that happen?
And as of yet, the owner of the dog has yet to call the injured neighbor and say, can I help? Can I apologize? Can I pay for your doctor bills?
Yeah.
So
Interesting episode. You want to go back and look at.
The association asked me to send a letter to the owner and remind them to keep their dog on a leash.
Yeah.
And if the dog can't stay on the leash, they have to stay inside.
Another episode we did was a new word that you taught everyone, publicness.
That's my favorite show.
Yes, so that was publicness of documents. And then you did an interesting vision for us of the speed limit. like a speed.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So talk about that a little
You
bit.
like that?
I did.
Yeah. The documents, and I don't have any in my hand right here, but the documents, when they're recorded in the public records where the property is located, and this would have been done way back when the developer started everything.
Okay.
So it's not something that we probably have been involved in. But when they're recorded, in my mind, it's as if they're buried in the ground under the property. And the term for that is the documents, the restrictions run with the land.
Okay.
So that's the phrase that's used in law.
That doesn't get moved or changed or sold.
And so they're stuck there. And the warranty deeds are on top.
Okay.
So when you buy your home, your warranty deed is recorded, and it's sort of like it lays on top of these documents. And then if you sell, then the warranty deeds change from seller to buyer.
Right.
But the documents, and what I mean by those is your declaration, or proprietary lease if you're a co-op, your bylaws and your articles, and then any amendments. They run with the land. And that recording in the public records makes them public. They're not a secret.
Okay.
They're not a secret. Anybody who has a desire to can find them.
Okay.
That publicness is similar to the publicly posted speed limit sign.
Okay.
The publicly posted speed limit sign is there because we are contractually obligated as drivers. We're contractually obligated when we sign our driver's license thing. We're obligated contractually to obey the state of Florida laws. One of those is a speed limit sign. It's publicly posted, and it doesn't matter how far back you passed one. If you get stopped, you're still expected to know the speed limit.
Okay.
Ignorance is not an excuse because it's publicly posted.
Okay.
Similarly, our documents are publicly posted. So when owners sign all of those stacks of closing documents, when they sign that, they have become contractually obligated with the association and all the other owners.
Right.
So if there are 10 owners or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 in your community, you've just become contractually obligated with all those people you don't know.
Okay.
That you don't know.
That's the publicness.
And so it is publicly posted in the public records. And that means then, just like that, no excuse on not knowing the speed limit sign, you have no excuse for not knowing about your documents.
Ignorance is not bliss in this case.
And it's not an excuse.
Okay.
And that's why we as managers and boards can enforce them.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter how many times you tell me I don't know about these things.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
You're stuck. All right. We're going to break, and we're going to be right back with more shows from 2022. We're going to jump into the conference on the other side of the break.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. Okay.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Well, thanks for joining us and coming back on the other side of the break. We're going through the shows of 2022, just kind of giving a little highlight so that if your community is going through some of the scenarios, you can go back and watch the full episode. One of my favorite times is the Yes Conference.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. It happens in August each year, and we have a couple shows. Well, it's really one show with some highlights.
Several pieces.
Yeah.
The yearly educational summit is already scheduled for 2023.
What are the dates?
August 10 and 11 in Leesburg.
It's a little earlier this year then, isn't it? Is that about the same time?
I think it was a week. No, this is a week later.
Is it? Okay. Never mind.
In August, anyway.
All right.
And I've already made sure that we have the caterer because we got to have those mashed potatoes and
So good.
chocolate chip cookies.
Yes. That's the energy. That's the fuel of the conference. Yeah.
And
What kind of things do you go over?
Well, I haven't planned the topics yet.
Okay.
I have kind of an idea of what I want to do.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten all of the topics. That's kind of my between December and January when I have maybe like a day downtime.
Sure.
To put it together.
What are some that we did this year, though?
This past year, we did a topic that managers don't get any information on, and that's HR, human resources, and employment laws, HR manuals. We worked on an HR manual. So we actually had a form for them, or a template for them to use. They worked at their tables and talked about the things they wanted, that they thought should go in an employee manual. And
that was well received, if I remember. People really needed that.
My goal, what I typically do on day one, is let the managers have some kind of group activity like that, of things that I know that they need to do, but they don't have time to do them at work.
Okay.
And so if they can, like 2 years ago, we did a policies and procedures manual.
Okay.
And so I had templates for them of different, like dozens of policies and procedures that the statute allows you to create, but managers and boards don't have time.
Okay.
So day one
that's a great
is what I kind of try to do. A season before that, we did worked on contracts, management contracts and employment agreements. What do you want your working relationship to look like on paper? And to refine those and get ideas from other managers.
These are topics that you're just not going to typically get into a class and learn.
No.
And it's a deeper dive.
So this coming year, I'm toying with going back to a meetings topic. I get so many questions on meetings, and my goal is just to make your life easier.
Yeah.
And I think there's a better way to do your meetings. And if you would take some coaching on that, I think it'll go easier. But got kind of a fun thing that I want to do. I have a CAM friend who has written a play about about meetings.
Oh, I bet that's funny.
And it's a funny play. And and most of the managers who come to the summit are willing to play. And
that
so
could be
I'm thinking I might
fun.
assign parts.
I love it.
And we'll put on a meeting.
Okay.
We'll do it wrong.
Yeah.
And then we'll do it right.
That's great. All right. We also did a show on in 2022, No One Wants to Serve on the Board.
Yeah.
You know, when you're voluntold, you know.
There's apathy. Usually people run for the board when they're mad about something, or they have a personal agenda item. I don't like, the board told me I couldn't do this, so I'm going to get on the board and I'm going to fire that manager and I'm going to change it. You know,
that's not how it works. Is it?
It's not the way it should work.
It's supposed to be, right?
But there's sometimes a reason for apathy in that things are going well.
Right.
And so if the current board is doing okay, then let them keep doing okay.
Right.
I find that the other thing that happens, there is more interest generated in elections in a condominium.
Okay.
And maybe even more specifically a high-rise.
More community feel, do you think? Yeah.
You're passing each other in the elevator all the time, and in those communities that have a clubhouse, where they actually have activities during the week at the clubhouse, there's more energy generated. There's more conversation, whether it's negative or positive. There's more conversation, and I think that generates a little more interest in running for the board. In homeowner, I have a couple of little homeowner associations that are real spread out. They have no clubhouse, they have no gate, They have no main entrance, and some of the roads don't even come anywhere close to each other.
Right.
So somebody might go home this way and somebody go home this way, and they would never pass each other. And even if they walked and did walking, they would never pass each other.
Right.
So you don't get the the conversation.
For better or worse, right?
Yeah. And so a lot of homeowner associations that are the smaller, without a lot of activities at a clubhouse or even have a clubhouse, it's just like, let the same board do it.
Yeah. Along those lines, we did an episode in 2022 on changing the board culture. While you're talking about the apathy and that there are ways to approach things in a positive way and change that culture.
And I guess if I could say one word of how that changed, it was education.
Really?
The shareholders in this co-op didn't understand. First, the board didn't understand their role. Remember, the board does not represent the wishes of the people. It's not a representative form of government. Yes, you should take their wishes into consideration, but they don't drive the decision. And once the board learned and embraced that they're to operate this as a business, and and theirs in particular is a multi-million-dollar business. They've got like $4.5 million of reserves, which is a lot for this co-op. And the board embraced their purpose: protect the property and its value, maintain the things that are used in common, and enforce the restrictions on the owner's use rights that are in the governing documents. That's your purpose. And once they embraced that, then we began to educate the shareholders. And we created a system for them to make their concerns known. We created a system for if they really wanted to get something on the board's agenda, how do they do that? We created a system for how they make their comments at the board meetings, how and when they do those. And they became educated in that, and those meetings are very, very smooth now.
That's amazing. As we're talking about education, another show that we did in 2022 was on the Quick Start. And that is just a tremendous opportunity because there's a lot of questions. It's a more intimate opportunity to be able to ask your specific scenario questions.
I had one this week, and one of the managers had already typed out a whole sheet of questions. She had just taken on a new community that was bigger and more complicated than any she had seen before or had worked in before. And just as they're getting ready to make the transfer from one management company to another, they're having elections. So
lots going on.
There's a whole lot. You've got end of the year stuff, end of the year reports, financials to owners, and all this stuff. And the setup is it's a multi-condominium with a master and a lot of subs, and just getting the moving parts together. So she came with her documents. She came with all these questions of how am I making this transition in the middle of the election. The one management company started the election process, and she's going to finish it. And
it's like personal tutoring.
It
really is.
And she said, I'll be back.
Good.
And I do. I have CAM Quick Start once a month. Or if that day does not suit you, I can schedule another day. I just go on and put it on the books for the one day. And some managers come more than once.
That's good.
When you have a new issue, come again.
Okay, and then one of the final shows that we want to talk about is amending documents. And what stood out to me about this was the big vote, little vote. Can we talk about that? That was like, whoa, that makes so much sense.
Once you learn that, then you can read your documents, because you look at them and go, I don't understand. Why did they give this to me in Chinese? I don't know why. And the legislators, bless their hearts, they cannot be consistent in how they write the statutes. And then the attorneys, bless their hearts, they're not consistent in how they write the documents. So you might find 7 different phrases among the statutes or your documents that represent only one or two configurations of owners. And the operative word in your language there is the word all or total or entire.
Okay.
If it's saying it's a majority vote of the entire membership, then you count the entire membership and what that majority would be of that. But a lot of the language in statutes and documents say that it indicate, and it would be helpful if the word is present, a majority vote of those present.
Okay.
And sometimes instead of saying the word present, it'll say at a meeting.
Okay.
Or at which a quorum is present.
Okay.
Well, that's dumb because you can't have a meeting with voting unless there's a quorum. So you don't even need to say quorum.
Right.
You can't have, or some of the phrasing is duly noticed meeting. Well,
Right.
you can't.
A lot of trash words in there. Just
words that
I see what you're saying. There's not that consistency.
No, there's no consistency. And what we want to know is the percentage of those present, or is it a percentage of the entire total all?
Is that the big
membership?
vote?
So that's little vote.
Okay.
Because present would be little vote.
Right.
And entire, total, or all is going to be a big vote.
Right.
If you have 100 owners and 60 are there at the meeting, and we never did get around to talking about in person or by proxy, but if 60 are there and it says that the majority vote, that the vote is a majority of those present, then the vote required is 31 affirmative votes.
Right.
But if the language says a majority of the entire membership, it's 51 votes. So the way I present it in the pre-licensing class is 31 is littler than 51.
Right.
So we've got little vote, big vote. And once you learn that, it's like, because the state exam is the same way.
Okay.
They use the same convoluted language. And so you're having to sit there and figure out, are they talking about big vote or little vote?
You can see how Betsy breaks things down and makes it really, really clear. I mean, you're speaking the language of the everyday person to make this stuff understandable. So
I'm not an attorney.
No, you don't even play one on TV, so that's good.
So I can
I just really
explain it.
I want to encourage you. I mean, here we are wrapping up 2022, wrapping up the final show of this year. Really reach out to Betsy. What an amazing resource. I mean, you get calls and questions from all over the state.
Yeah.
And, just one more time, how can people get a hold of you and where can they connect best?
Connect with me at Betsy at FloridaCAMSchools, don't forget the S, .com.
Okay.
And probably here somewhere is my phone number, 352-326-8365.
All right.
And I love questions. It breaks up the day. And most questions I might know the answer to, but I always look it up just to be sure.
Yeah.
And so I like that because it broadens my knowledge.
Yeah.
If you ask me a question I don't know anything about, I get a chance to learn something new. So
I love it.
Love it too.
All right, final show 2022. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Should
Christmas.
we sing a Christmas carol?
No, I don't think they really want to hear us sing, do they?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.